Hey, what's up everyone? This is Zach and I am here with a discography ranking video for you guys. And this is actually a re-ranking for Christian metalcore legends, Demon Hunter. Now, Demon Hunter I have been a big fan of for many years. I've been a fan since 2014, so around the time when Extremist came out. Now, I know I have done a couple discography rankings for Demon Hunter before, but I believe the last time I have done a Demon Hunter ranking was before they released Exile and There Was a Light Here, which is their most recent album. So Demon Hunter has had 2 new albums to come out since the last time I've ranked this band's discography. So I figured, hey, why not do a re-ranking now? I feel like it's due for a new ranking for this band. So keep in mind, they have 12 studio albums, not including Songs of Death and Resurrection. Obviously, I'm not including that since it's only a compilation acoustic album, but if I were to include that on this ranking, I'd really have to think about where the placement of that album would be. But if you want to know my thoughts on Songs of Death and Resurrection, I think it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good acoustic record, but just the 12 studio albums that we will be ranking for Demon Hunter. Now, I don't think Demon Hunter has ever really put out a bad album either. I mean, of course, some are better than others, so let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start off with what I think is their weakest album. So, what I have last, some people might disagree, but that's okay. But I could see some fans being in agreement with me on this one. But last, at the bottom, it's got to be Peace. Definitely their weakest in my opinion. I think it just has some of their weakest material, such as I Don't Believe You, Two Ways. Two Ways I definitely think is one of the worst Demon Hunter songs. Probably a top 5 worst Demon Hunter song for me, to be honest. Never really been crazy about that one. And then Bet My Life I don't care too much for as well. Now, there are some songs that I do like from this album. There are some very good tracks, such as the opening track, More Than Bones. I really do like that song. Loneliness is another really good song. And then, of course, Recuse Myself, I do like as well. Recuse Myself is probably my favorite on this album, and maybe one of my favorite Demon Hunter songs, too. I really do enjoy Recuse Myself. Whenever I saw Demon Hunter live back in 2022, they did perform that song, which was great, but yeah, Peace. I think the reason why this would be last for a lot of people is because this is their most mellow album. Now, for me personally, that's not why this album is last, because I do like Demon Hunter's melodic side a lot. In fact, I probably like that side of the band more than their heavy stuff. But I do like their heavy stuff, don't get it twisted. But that's not why this album is last, because this is their most mellow record or anything. I just find some of this album to be rather boring. Like, I think that some of these songs are just pretty boring for the most part. Again, going back to songs like I Don't Believe You and Bet My Life, kind of boring songs to be honest, but I'd say it's a decent album, but it's far from one of their best. So, in fact, I would say it is their weakest in my opinion. But next, I'm definitely going to get hate for this one because this is, of course, from their classic era, the 2000s, when Don Clark, Ryan Clark's brother, was still in the band. Now, I think of the Don Clark albums with Demon Hunter, this has got to be the weakest one. Summer of Darkness, again, I could see a lot of fans disagreeing with this one. Like, why is that album so low? Well, because it's my opinion. I don't dislike this album. I do think it's quite good, but I do have some issues with it. I think, number one, there's a lack of variety in the track listing. And then number two, the album kind of goes on for way too long. I mean, 13 tracks, is it really necessary? You know, is it really necessary for this album to have 13 tracks? And then on top of that, you end the album with The Latest and the Last, which I was never that crazy about this song, never was too into this one. I think this album would have worked better if it closed with I Play Dead. That would have been a very suitable album closer for Summer of Darkness. And I've even seen some others say the same thing, that I Play Dead would be a better album closer. But those are just some few gripes that I have with the album. But it's overall not bad, though. It's still not a bad album. Some of my favorites would be Not Ready to Die, My Heartstrings Come Undone, which is, of course, one of their popular ballads. Our Faces Fall Apart, which has Howard Jones featured. Less Than Nothing I do like. And then, of course, I Play Dead. Really good songs. So, Summer of Darkness, I'd say I like it, but I've never really loved it, though. It's always been closer to last in my ranking, you know, for the reasons that I just gave you, of course. But still, not bad. It's still not a bad album. So next, we've got War, which again, might get some hate from the fan base for this one, because this one might be higher for some. I have seen some people say that War is a top 5 Demon Hunter album. Of course, this did release alongside with Peace, War and Peace, of course. And I think of the two albums, War is definitely the better of the two, but I can't really say that's saying a whole lot because, well, as you can see, this one is still, you know, it's not that high in the ranking. I still don't think that this album is top shelf Demon Hunter. It's hard to describe why this album is lower. I think it's just, if I wanted to listen to this style of Demon Hunter, I think I would just rather go listen to The Triptych or The World is a Thorn or True Defiance, you know? Like, I'd rather listen to one of those albums. But still, War is a pretty good album for what it is. I do like this one. There are some good songs. Some of my favorites would probably be Cut to Fit, On My Side, The Negative, and Lesser Gods. And Lesser Gods, I think, is a pretty unique song for Demon Hunter as well. But yeah, War, again, like with Summer of Darkness, I'd say I like it, but I don't love it, though. So there you have it. So next in this ranking, the self-titled debut, Demon Hunter. A strong album for sure. And yeah, probably them at their most raw. I mean, you could definitely tell during this time they were... Before Ryan did Demon Hunter, of course, he had Training for Utopia, and you could tell that, you know, vocally he's doing some of the same stuff he did from Training for Utopia on the self-titled Demon Hunter album. This was really before Demon Hunter, you know, really became Demon Hunter, you know, the band that we know them today. You could tell that there's a lot of Slipknot influences on here, some influences of Korn, and very nu metal sounding, which I do like. I do like some nu metal, so I can't really complain too much about that. I know nu metal was kind of a hit and miss subgenre for some, but I've always liked this album, and I thought for a while, I think this is a very underrated debut album. Some of my favorites would definitely be Screams of the Undead, I Have Seen Where It Grows, Infected, which is of course a Demon Hunter classic. That's also a song that they perform live when I've seen them. My Throat is an Open Grave, which is a pretty good ballad. And Through the Black, I do like. But yeah, with the self-titled, it definitely has a stronger first half than a second half, but I don't mind the songs on the second half, okay? And I think The Gauntlet is a pretty good closing track too, so there's that. But the self-titled debut, Demon Hunter, I do like this one. I do think it is pretty good, and again, kind of underrated, so that's where it is in my ranking. Okay, so next, we've got Exile, their concept album. Now, this is the tour that I did get to see them on, and that was the only time I ever got to see Demon Hunter, so far at least. And that was a really good show. It was really good seeing them on this tour and everything. But Exile, I do like this album. I don't think it's held up as great as some of their other releases, but I still do like Exile. Now, as for a concept album, it's kind of strange because this album doesn't really feel like how a concept album should, unless you listen to the deluxe edition of this album. If you've listened to the deluxe edition of Exile, you know what I'm talking about, and it definitely delivers that that concept album feel more when you listen to the deluxe edition. So there's that. But Exile, I do like as an album nonetheless. I'd say some of my favorites on this album would have to be Defense Mechanism, Silence the World, Heaven Don't Cry, Freedom is Dead, and Along the Way. And Along the Way, I do believe, is one of their longest songs too, and I'd say it's one of their best album closers too. I've always really enjoyed Along the Way. And this album definitely has a very cinematic sound to it. Like, there's some songs that almost sounds like it's from like a movie trailer or something. And of course, as a certified filmmaker who has made films, that is something that I do appreciate for sure. So there's that. But Exile I do like, but I don't think it's top shelf Demon Hunter, to be honest. It's still not one of their strongest, but still I do like the album for what it is. All right, so next, it's very surprising where this album is ranked in my ranking, considering that I've had my moments where I have said that this is definitely their weakest, or one of their weakest at the very least, but I was really into this album when it first came out, and then after a while I decided, yeah, this is probably their weakest, or one of their weakest once again. But the more I've been returning to this album, in recent years, I've realized, you know what? This album is actually pretty darn good. I actually really do like this one. And I am, of course, talking about Outlive. Now, as I've said earlier, Extremist, that was around the time when I got into the band, when Extremist came out. So Outlive was my first Demon Hunter album, jumping on the hype train for, of course, since this is the follow-up. And again, after a while, I thought, yeah, it's not one of their best, but this album has grown on me more with more listens. And I think when this album first came out, it received a lot of mixed reviews from some fans and whatnot. And I think one of the main reasons for that is when Outlive came out, the band, like this is what they would be from this point on. Like, you could tell at this time they really mellowed out. Like, there's not as many barn burners, like not as many heavy songs like on the previous albums. And I think a lot of fans were really wondering about that. But there are, of course, some barn burners on this album, some heavy tracks, such as Jesus Wept, which is probably one of my favorites on this album too. I've always really dug Jesus Wept. Cold Winter Sun, which is probably a favorite of mine as well, and I believe that was the first single. Died in My Sleep, also probably a favorite of mine, and that was also one of the singles to this album. And as far as other favorites of mine on this album, I'd say Patience and Slight the Odds. Okay, so next in my ranking, Storm the Gates, which is a pretty divisive album in the Demon Hunter fan base. You have some fans say that this is a great album, it's one of their best, and then on the other side, you have fans that say that this is one of their weakest. And the argument that you will hear due to people saying this is one of their weakest is because of the production. And yes, I will say that the production on this album could have been better. It's definitely not the best produced Demon Hunter album. It sounds muddy, it sounds muffled, but the reason why it is where it is in my ranking is because I do like the songs on this album. I think that this album definitely has really great songs, of course, such as the title track, which is a great opening track and probably one of their heaviest songs too. Fading Away, which is, of course, a fan favorite on this album. Carry Me Down, a very strong ballad from Demon Hunter. Ryan really giving it his all, and it's a pretty emotional track. Thorns, I do like. I Am You, another solid track. And Follow the Wolves, another solid track. But Storm the Gates, I do like this album. I don't think it's their best. It's never been number one for me, but I do like this album quite a bit for what it is. So, really good one. Really good one. Even with the production issues, I still think it is a pretty strong album. Okay, so next, I believe we're in the top 5. Okay, so number 5. Their most recent album, There Was a Light Here. I know this album just came out, but I have been really enjoying this album, and I would say it is Demon Hunter's best album in years. And I know that this is also a pretty personal record for Ryan Clark, too, since some of these songs are about Ryan Clark's late mother who passed away. My condolences, Ryan Clark. But as far as this album goes, I dig it. I think that this is a very strong Demon Hunter release. I think it's a pretty unique album in their discography, too. And I'd say some of my favorites on this one would be the opening track, My Place in the Dirt. That song definitely goes hard. Sorrow Like the Way, which was one of the singles. I do dig that song. I'm Done, which was the first single, probably another favorite of mine on this album. Ouroboros and Overwhelming Closure. Those are probably my favorites right now. So There Was a Light Here. I do dig this album. I do think it is very solid. I do think it is very good. And yeah, probably one of my favorite album releases of 2025 as well. So Demon Hunters, There Was a Light Here. Really great one. If you're a Demon Hunter fan, haven't heard this one yet, definitely go check it out. So that's where it is in my ranking. There Was a Light Here at number 5. I think it's good, and I am still waiting on the CD, for those wondering. I'm just still waiting on it. It's coming in the mail. Can't wait to get my copy of it. So let's go ahead and move on to number 4. So number 4, it's pretty surprising that I have this album placed at number 4, considering for the longest time I have said that this is Demon Hunter's worst album. It's an album that I couldn't really get into too much, but man, has this album grown on me, and now I do think it is one of their best. It's a top 5 Demon Hunter album for me, of course. And that album is The World is a Thorn. I think that this is a very strong album. Now, it's hard to say why. For a while there, I did consider this their worst. As I've given these songs more listens, I've realized, you know what, this is great, and it's a grower for sure. Some of my favorites on this album would be Descending Upon Us, Collapsing. Now, Collapsing, that was the song that actually got me into Demon Hunter, believe it or not. So, Collapsing, I do think is great, and it features Bjorn Strid from Soilwork. The title track, I do dig, probably one of their heaviest songs. Driving Nails is a pretty good song as well. Just Breathe, a very energetic track, probably another favorite of mine on this album. Blood and the Tears is a pretty good closing track too, and a pretty good power ballad from the band. So The World is a Thorn, I dig this album. I really dig it a lot, and it's hard to believe there was a time where I said that I thought that this was their worst. But now it's at number 4, so there you go. The World is a Thorn, great album, and I know it's a fan favorite Demon Hunter album too. I know that this is a top 5 for many as well, but great album for sure. So next, at number 3, Extremist. So again, this was around the time when I got into Demon Hunter back in 2014, and maybe that's why this album is in my top 3, because this was in the era when I got into Demon Hunter, but I think as it stands, it is a very strong Demon Hunter album. Now, this is another album like Storm the Gates where it is pretty divisive, where you'll see some fans say that it's one of their best, and then on the other side, you'll see fans say that it's one of their worst. But for me, I do think it is one of their best. Some of my favorites on this album would be Artificial Light, a great heavy track, What I'm Not, The Last One Alive, I Will Fail You, which is, of course, one of their popular ballads. Cross the Bear, probably one of Demon Hunter's heaviest songs. Really dig that one. End Time, I do like. And End Time, I think, is a kind of underrated Demon Hunter song, too. Gasoline, I do like. And then, of course, the closing track, Heart of a Graveyard. That's a song that definitely gets better with more listens. So, yeah, and a pretty good closing track. But Extremist, I do dig this one. I think you get a good mix of everything. You get a best of both worlds when it comes to Demon Hunter on this album. You get some very heavy stuff, some barn burners, and then you get some more melodic stuff from the band on here. But Extremist, I dig this album. I've always really enjoyed this one. Great album for sure, and I would say it is one of their best. Okay, so at number 2, True Defiance. Definitely one of their best, and I don't think any Demon Hunter fan would argue with that. I mean, this album is just great start to finish. There's not really a weak song on this album, but I would say some of my favorites on here would be Crucifix, another very heavy barn burner track and a great opener to this album. Godforsaken, another really good one. Tomorrow Never Comes, a great ballad from the band. Someone to Hate, of course, one of the fan favorites on here. We Don't Care, another pretty good song off this album. Pretty good chorus. And then, of course, Dead Flowers, the closing track, a great song and a great power ballad. One of my favorite Demon Hunter songs, too, and probably has one of my favorite solos from the band, too. So, True Defiance, great album. Can't go wrong with this one. Easily one of their best. So, at number 1, you probably already know what it is at this point. It's got to be the Triptych. And I love this album. I know that this is number 1 for many Demon Hunter fans. A lot of fans say that this is either their best or at least one of their best, and I would say that this is Demon Hunter's best album. I really love the Triptych. This is one of those albums that you cannot go wrong with. It's just a very strong album, start to finish, front to back, and I really dig how raw this album sounds, and it just has some of their best songs overall. And I would say that the Triptych is one of my favorite metalcore albums of all time, too. It's probably up there for me, along with other albums such as Alive or Just Breathing by Killswitch Engage and Shogun by Trivium, if you want to count that as metalcore. But the Triptych, I would say, is Demon Hunter's best work. Some of my favorites would be Not I, Undying, which is, of course, a fan favorite Demon Hunter song. When I saw Demon Hunter live, again, they did play Undying, and yeah, definitely great. Deteriorate, also a great song, and probably one of my favorite Demon Hunter songs, too. Probably a top 5 Demon Hunter song for me, to be honest. The Soldier song is also great, and a fan favorite from this album. 1000 Apology seems to be a fan favorite as well, and probably also one of my favorite Demon Hunter songs. Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck, which is a Prong cover. I believe I have heard the original, and yeah, this cover's not too bad. It's pretty good. Ribcage, kind of an underrated song from this album. And then, of course, the closing track, The Tide Began to Rise, a pretty good ballad from Demon Hunter. I do dig this one, and a great way to close this album, too. And maybe also one of their best closing tracks, too. So there you go. But the Triptych, I love this album. It's great. You cannot go wrong with it. And as you can see, I have the special edition right here. So the Triptych is coming in at number 1, and I do think it is Demon Hunter's best work. So there you have it. That is my re-ranking 2025 updated Demon Hunter ranking. Let me know what you think. How would you rank Demon Hunter's discography? Feel free to let me know in the comments. And what did you think of this ranking? Feel free to let me know. So with that said, thank you all for watching. Take care and have a good one.